because you can talk very ethereally and say it's about the soul and it's about understanding your divine potential. Great, how do I apply it to every day?
Right.
So when your partner is out there and is pushing your buttons and saying things that irritate you and doing things that just drive you absolutely crazy, that makes you just want to strangle them, you have to stop and say, okay, this has nothing to do with them. Because the second we start thinking it's about our partners is the second we lose power, is the second we give up our ability to control and change our lives.
You miss the opportunity to learn something more about yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they're not there to bring us joy and bring us roses and bring us chocolate. They're there to make us, although that's nice, you know, that's a great perk.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. But they're there to teach us about ourselves.
Yeah.
And you've heard it said 1,000 times before, you know, our partners are our mirrors. They reflect ourselves back to us. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? If you can look at your partner and say, this drives me absolutely batty that they do this, then there's a part of you, there's an energetic connection in you that has that same problem. It might be in a different, it might be in a different way. It might reflect itself as an opposite of whatever drives you crazy about your partner. But if there was nothing within you that needed tweaking, then whatever your partner was doing wouldn't bother you. It's about that energetic alignment. It's about that vibe, you know, that we talked about earlier, feeling vibes.
Right.
It's an interaction of vibration that happens between people. And it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight, or black or white, or Christian or Jew, it doesn't matter. And, you know, there's also a line of thinking that talks about women being from Mars and, women being from Venus and men being from Mars, which is a philosophy that a lot of people have you know, followed.
That you're just hardwired differently.
That we're hardwired differently. And that is true to a degree. You know, men and women do think differently. Men tend to be more linear, women tend to be more intuitive and emotional. And that's true. But there's something even deeper than that. Because if that were solidly true, then all gay relationships, where it's two same-sex couples, they would all be blissful and always happy.
Right.
And that's not the case.
Right.
So if the Mars-Venus thing was solid and accurate, then every gay relationship would be fine. So there's something deeper. There's something deeper that we carry into our relationships. It doesn't matter whether we are male or female. It doesn't matter whether we're gay or straight. So we have to go even further beyond the idea of thinking differently. And I think where Mars and Venus sets us up for a little bit of discomfort is that straight out of the gate it says, okay, you're different.
Right.
So when you believe somebody is different from you, it's really sort of hard to connect to them, at least for most people.
So what's the better way to think about the differences between the sexes?
And the difference is that you realize that we're not the suit we wear. It's not about being a man or a woman. It's about being a soul. It's about being this piece of energy that doesn't care what gender you are, and is, you know, to go into the ethereal is eternal. And the beliefs that we carry sort of they shadow us from that. They cover that soul energy up. We get beliefs as kids from our parents or our teachers or our friends, and it sort of covers us up gradually, and it covers that soul energy. So I think where we get stuck is where we think of approaching our partner as an alien, as opposed to being exactly like I am and having the same needs and wants and desires that I have.
On a human / soul level.
Yeah.
So how about then from that soul perspective, issues with dating and sex before you actually develop a committed relationship? Do you talk about that in your book?
No, I don't really delve into it in the book too much, but, you know, there's the online dating business is a multi-billion-dollar dating business. And there's also a line of thinking along that there's a psychological test you can take online.
Right.
And
I've heard. I've heard of those.
Yeah. And that if you fill out this questionnaire and you plug it into a computer, that your perfect match will show up. And the reality of that is, my husband and I did that test. We got 26 out of 28 questions correct. So according to this
We were a great match.
We were a great match. But the psychology of what's going on in our head that we think about consciously when we're asking a questionnaire, we're going, consciously, I think this. But it doesn't go into, what is the baggage you're carrying?
Mm-hmm.
What did your parents teach you about relationships? What do you think about your own ability to love and be loved? Who taught you how to love? What are you afraid of? You know, it doesn't go into that. And ultimately, that's the stuff that comes up after you've done the dating dance, after you've filled out the questionnaire on the thing and expected that the perfect guy who fits that parameter shows up.
Right.
So we get disappointed even further.
Right.
So it's not about what we think, it's about what we believe. And those are, as we said earlier, they're similar, but they're very, very different.
Right. And we all do have baggage, quote unquote, from our past relationships and past experiences. So we can't really change what happened in the past. What's the best way to handle that then in terms of starting a new relationship?
Well, no, you can't change what happened in the past. You can't change the relationship you had with your mechanic yesterday. I think it was Wayne Dyer had said, you know, let's just figure out a way to get really upset about the Peloponnesian War that happened 5,000 years ago. You know, let's figure out a way to get upset about that. And, well, yesterday is just as over.
Oh, good point.
You know, we put so much of our energy into figuring out what we could have done differently in the past, or if only they hadn't hurt me in the past, or if only this hadn't happened, or I hadn't said that thing, or they hadn't done that thing. And we've all got our stuff. You know, we've all got our wounds, we've all got our baggage. But one day you need to make a choice and say, I don't need that anymore in my life. I don't need to carry that into my relationships anymore. And it's a choice. It's all about choice. It's all about deciding whether or not you want to continue to struggle and have your partners and your relationships and yourself pay the price for that, or whether or not you have more power within you to say, I'm stronger than that. I'm stronger than the abuse. I'm stronger than the husband having the affair. I'm stronger than the divorce. I have more power than that. And you make a choice. You say, that's not who I am. You know, I suffered abuse and loss as a very young child, but I had to make a decision whether or not that was going to determine the rest of my life. And when you make that choice, then all sorts of opportunities open and all sorts of relationships become available. Mm-hmm. Because when you let go of that, when you drop your baggage, then you let go of the dysfunction in you that brings dysfunction to you. And that's a really powerful, powerful choice. But you have to make it. Nobody's going to do it for you.
Right.
You know. And no amount of time, you know, the philosophy, time heals all wounds. Yeah. No amount of time is going to help you do that unless you consciously decide and say, I don't need it anymore.
And you can make that choice in 1 week, 1 year, 30 years.
Or you can make it now. You can make it now. And it happens like that.
Well, that's very good news.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.